do change, and it doesn't make how I define myself change at all. Yeah, that whole rant speaks way more about you than it does about me. Sorry, criminal QT.
All right. Next Jimmy Rustler. I vote kick. Has got a few questions. I just want to
Oh God.
congratulate you for losing weight since she
He's
filmed
fucking. He
GG.
keeps saying this, dude. Fuck
You
this.
look
Go.
much better now.
What was this? What of all the fucking weird documentaries I've been in? What documentary is it?
The good game one.
I fucking weighed less then. That was in like 2011. I was like 22. I was
God.
much more handsome then. I must have been a terrible like camera angle because I weigh way more now. But thank you. I appreciate it regardless. I think.
Okay.
But now it's sort of sinister because I'm actually more self-conscious about my weight now. You know, so.
Were you
Thanks, but
overweight
fuck
before?
you.
I didn't even know that if you were.
No, no, I've always been skinny as fuck. Like,
Okay.
I'm now getting to the point in my life where I'm starting to not be skinny as fuck. So
Right.
this is why it really rattles me up, man.
Man, these guys got bun pushers today. Okay, so for the last 2 years, tournaments have lost their innovation for filler content. We just see the standardized tournament structure and presentation with the giant ad breaks that can last up to an hour. What are some cost-effective, non-cost-effective ideas for tournaments to effectively produce some filler content that aren't being done? What are some reasons that tournaments might not even care about filler content?
Got to hire Richard Lewis for the Twitch lounge. Keep the interviews rolling. I think that's a solid way to do it.
Yeah, I think so.
The worst in the business of all time had to have been MLG in like 2012, where
The
for 35
crowd.
minutes at a time they
Oh
would
my
just show the
God.
crowd wandering
Oh my
around,
God.
scratching themselves. That was really horrible. I feel like esports has gotten better. Esports tournaments always ran late, and I feel like they're running less and less late, and they're getting really tighter with their production.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean just live. I think the perfect thing was what you were talking about with Richard. Just live interviews. Why not? Why not just switch over to those feeds, right? Or even I would even like just. There's a lot of community members that make content. In particular, like just throw an example, like music content, right? Like Tempo or some of those other guys, right? Just have them go and do some content there, or that sort of thing. Or even just like Carbot and that sort of thing. Just make some deals with some of these guys, and I'm sure they would do it for let you just use their stuff for free, just to advertise it, right? Just to get even more exposure. Anything like that. Like, there's plenty of community stuff. I think people could reach out and use as filler content if you don't want to just do ads. A lot of this is like they have to do ads, right? So it's not so much a choice. Interactive stuff would be cool too. Just put up some interactive polls with like, you can vote on your phone. You can vote just all kinds of different ways. People love that straw poll shit, man.
I'm mixed on music, man. I'll be honest.
Dude,
the worst
it's-
fucking thing that's ever happened in the history of esports was when ESL made Sue sing. When she didn't
Okay.
obviously want to sing, man. That's fucking.
She didn't
So
want
it
to sing?
depends. There's context. No, Sue did great because she does great, but like she was hired as a host, and then like
I mean, yeah.
the last day be like, hey, I tweeted this earlier. I
Well,
don't know. Music
it
is.
was like a
music
bet or
is-
something like that, right?
I don't know. And Sue sang wonderfully, but like I got the impression that she was just roped into that. I hate musicals as well, so maybe I'm just an asshole.
I gotta be honest, like, and this isn't like meant to be disrespectful to Carmack or anything like that, but I do find some of the whole ESL kind of have had or IEM in particular have had this ethos for having the Easter eggs in the production. Do you know what I mean? He calls them Easter eggs. We have these like little weird things going on, and
Okay.
I remember at one event, I can't remember which one it was. It must have been one of the IEMs in Germany. They got everyone on stage to do some sort of dance or something. Not a Harlem shuffle, but
The Gangnam Style?
yeah, it might have been.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. I remember him asking me, and I thought, like, why the fuck would I do that? And don't get me wrong, like, the esports audience seems to be, like, really strangely divided on it. Like, you get 50% say, "Oh my God, that was cringeworthy as fuck. Like, I never want to see anything like that again as long as I'm involved in esports, please." And then the other 50% are like, "Ha ha ha, look at the
They love the
e-celebrities making
cringeworthy
fun
stuff.
of themselves." Yeah, and I just think, I don't know, dude. Like, ugh, that's definitely not for me. Like, no disrespect to anybody. It's not. It's not how I would do things.
I'm in the Richard Lewis camp too. Uh, I find any auxiliary sort of like entertainment that is thrown upon us. I oftentimes just I have that like weird empathetic embarrassment where like I'm not being embarrassed, but I feel embarrassed for those involved, and it just like
you can relate to it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot as well.
Oh
I
my
should say it
God.
was Harlem Shake, right? Sorry, I don't know where I got Harlem Shuffle from. It's, you know, almost as if these flavor of the month things that retards preoccupy themselves with don't stick in my mind. I apologize, Twitch chat.
I mean,
Sorry.
like so a lot of that music stuff, though. I mean, not those in particular, but a lot of the stuff is watched. I mean, they get tons of views, like on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's like, right, if you went into the Cadred Clips channel, the YouTube channel, right, it's got all these player interviews, you know, and you'll find, I don't know, like an interview with, like, I don't know, fucking Violet or someone, or, you know, we did an interview with, like, Tasia, or an interview with Hero, and it's like 1,500 views, and then DreamHack Nerd Lap Dancing Contest is like 2.8 million views.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a nerd getting a chubby while some unattainable girl dances around him.
Shannon, share what I just shared in
and
chat.
that has
Share
got
what you just
2.8
shared,
million views.
Okay.
So I you know, I do think sometimes, like, whenever I see the esports community talking about why haven't we got better content? Fucking hell.
What is
Like,
this, Cody?
This is so fucking ridiculous. This is exactly what I was talking about.
Oh yeah. Sure.
This should have never fucking
Oh,
happened.
I remember this. I remember this. But this was a bet. This was not like. This was a bet, right?
Your
Yeah, but
your
you
shitty
create,
bet should
you
not
create
infringe
the
on
bet,
my
don't you?
yeah.
That's part of the narrative. It was like when Joe Miller went topless for a Counter-Strike cast.
It's just so bad.
No, well, I think there's a difference.
Let's
I think there's
revisit.
a difference. I think the contextualization of the event is actually really important, because if it's like a lost bet and everybody's supposed to be kind of laughing at them, and it's like, okay, well, like we all know this. I think there's a difference between
Yeah,
that
the
and
whole
like,
point was
oh my god, like we're doing this and it's actually like really cool that he's like doing this really embarrassing. You know, like
No, but
I think
even
If you
so,
lose
like,
a bet with like your friends and you have to do something dumb at a bar, that's a lot different than like a bet that a tournament organizer who is broadcasting to hundreds of thousands of people across the globe was like, hey, you know, God.
Well,
I don't know.
People
like I said,
obviously thought it was
I
funny.
still think it's a little bit different. Even if maybe you might argue that, oh, it's not appropriate to broadcast to, you know, X amount of people, maybe people won't be in on the joke, whatever. I still think the context will change how it's perceived quite a bit, you know?
And we're talking about filler stuff anyway. So okay, if it's not that, then why not just show like a different Carbot episode every filler?
Why make the bet in the first place is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because it's I don't know, it's funny.
People-
what about when
people-
remember when Slasher lost that bet and he had to get his head shaved or whatever? Like, I mean, that's relatively cringeworthy, like just watching somebody get their head shaved, like who the fuck cares really, right? But it was funny because it was Slasher and
Yeah, no, I
yeah, but I mean,
get
like,
it, but
so, like, how can you say something like that is funny when I mean, like, really
I
just a
think
guy
that
getting a
sort of
haircut? But I mean,
stuff's-
it's funny because of the context, no?
I think that's the kind of thing that's like, I don't know, like there's a halfway house. Like I always think that when DreamHack do funny stuff, they generally tend to get it right.
The
And
champagne
then-
thing is right.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I think that's the
You
right
think the
side of
champagne thing is
cringeworthy.
good, but you think the other stuff was bad?
Yeah, and I'll qualify this. This.
man.
The joke in the champagne thing, when you win a tournament, like, okay, every other sport, people are opening fucking champagne bottles and spraying them and like, you know, Queen, we are the champions, and everyone's having a great time, and it's just standard. And then it comes to fucking esports, right? And you've won a bunch of money and you're given a bottle of champagne and you don't know how to open it. That's brilliant. The joke's kind of like, it's almost like the joke is kind of on the whole industry in a way. Like,
Well,
you know,
it's- I
we're
mean, it comes
sports
back to-
little brother. We're sports malnourished cousin. We don't quite know how to revel in our own success when it is presented.
God, you're
upon us.
looking way too into that.
Hey,
I-
look. That's
I love
what
that
I do,
metaphor.
right?
That's fantastic.
My
Yeah, right. Thank
God.
you. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a great thing. Okay, but like when it's like, oh, to try and make a tournament more interesting, two professional commentators have had a bet, like if one loses, he'll shave his head or he'll wax his balls or like whatever it is. Like that doesn't happen in mainstream sports. And it's like, it might be fun and it might be cool and it might be fucking awesome. And we all might laugh about it, or we might go into the 50-50 cringe divide that we've just talked about. But equally, I kind of think it denigrates the whole industry just a little bit. It just puts a crack in the veneer of what I think everyone else is trying to achieve, and it's a personal thing, but it's just not for me.
That seems
personally.
like I don't understand how, like, because on one hand, you're full on embracing what is essentially self-deprecating humor, popping the champagne. We can't even do it. We're making fun of ourselves as a whole. But then on the other hand, you say, well, now we're denigrating
10 tournaments from now, it's again evolution. 10 tournaments from now, we will be opening bottles of champagne correctly, and it won't be a running gag anymore. But to get to that point, we're going to have to go through this awkward phase where it's like, hey, you've just won a tournament. You've never opened a bottle of champagne at a tournament before, and now you've got to do it in front of a baying crowd of 30,000 people or something. That's great. I like that. It's like if you go back and you watch early sports, like the very first seasons of like sports that have recently come about, you see some pretty awkward, ceremonies. But that's not the case anymore now. It's like you refine reveling in the success as you go on. So I think that's absolutely perfectly acceptable. But I don't think you would find people shaving heads or singing songs to, doing karaoke for a bet in mainstream sports. And I think it's that kind of thing that makes us perceived to be a little bit more amateur than we actually are at this stage. Yeah, I think it had its place maybe in 2005 when the average LAN was in someone's shed and the prize money was a fucking copy of the game that you already had to be excellent at to win in the first place. Sure. But now, like if we've got $10 million tournaments and fucking regular leagues and all of this, I think we need to kind of leave all that back in the past where it belongs.
Bert makes the world's worst horrible point I've ever. So Bert9 from chat says, Richard, have you ever attended a game of American baseball? They do stupid self-deprecating humor all the time. Have you ever seen a mascot shooting T-shirts out of a cannon to the audience? Absolutely, just tremendous. So Jarrett Cale is not a mascot. He's a host you hired at a premium more often than not.
Maybe we need mascots.
And to put it in context, because I feel like bet is a little loose, it was if Jarrett could get an extra, he was at 9.8k followers. If he could get like an extra 200 followers, he would do this ridiculous fucking thing. So when you show up at an event and the person who's your boss, he was like, hey, let's do this crazy bet that engages people on Twitter, you're just sort of like, you're there already, they're paying you, you want to impress those who are paying you, and you're just kind of like, yeah, sure. How many times have like you been in this weird position where you've been coerced into saying yeah, sure, when you don't know it's a good idea just because you want to impress those who are paying your bills? I just think a lot of times this kind of shit is not fair and looks silly. And I'm staunchly in Richard's category. Like, I'm the kind of person when I go to bars, I actually fucking lie about what I do just because I don't want to have to explain it. And then it doesn't help my cause when fucking these really successful people I look up to are fucking singing and dancing when they shouldn't be singing and dancing. So, I don't know. And that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I mean, God. I mean, I hate having... I mean, you bringing up other esports, Richard, other sports and comparing it to that, it's just kind of like contradictory to like, we always talk about not comparing us to other sports. Now you're talking about...
It's not contradictory at all. Contradictory would be saying, oh, I really liked it when Jarrett sang that song, but I didn't like it when Joe Miller did a topless cast. That would be contradictory.
No, but I'm talking. You're saying that like we don't see this kind of thing in sports, and like, there's a reason why we don't see this kind of thing in sports. But
I tell you what, when
it's a different demographic, right?
When I see like at the end of, I don't know, the Super Bowl, right? Like one of the commentators gets trotted out, and like we're just gonna stop the celebrations for a moment. I had a bet that nobody thought the Oakland Raiders were going to win. So here's the guy here's John Madden to sing I'm a Barbie Girl, right? What? And then everyone will go, oh yeah, this is awesome. Best Super Bowl ever, won't they? No, they'll say, you know what? dumb shit like that needs to be in the halftime show, or like, and even then, it's not. The halftime show's kind of awesome. So where is the dumb shit? Like,
Have you
again,
guys not watched like the
talking about mascots? Fine. If you think esports needs a guy dressed as a giant parrot, like firing t-shirts in it, but great, bring it on. Like, I'm all for that. But I don't want to see my esports celebrities kind of like goofing off for cheap laughs. Like, I want them to be serious commentators on the industry and a serious representation of the sport.
That's just preference. I mean, I can give you an example in NBA.
Yeah, I know. I've
you
qualified
guys,
that. I've said it's a personal preference.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a place where to just the lighthearted. I think that's like one of the unique kind of the character that some of these esports events have. Even though I don't like the champagne thing, but I kind of accepted for it. That's kind of what DreamHack's all about, and it does add to the kind of the light nature of the end of the event and just kind of the festiveness of it, right?
I feel like the champagne popping is. I feel like DreamHack is less a culprit than some of the.
I know, but the dream. Okay, so the champagne thing. Why a lot of us think we cringe and we think it's kind of funny is because it's at the expense of the player too. It's a little bit embarrassing for the player.
It's the sole responsibility of the player. Any player who is a contention to win can completely change the way that works, right? You can just fucking know how to open a bottle of champagne. That's the sole responsibility of the player. Now, let's say I was.
But what I'm trying to say is that the end result, it being a little embarrassing for him, is kind of what's endearing. Like, that's why he's kind of endearing to us, because it is a little bit embarrassing.
That's fine. So, like,
let's
say I hosted the online sports league. Let's say I ran a league and I called it Online Sports League, and I was like the boss man and the figurehead of this league. And I was like, hey, if we get X amount of retweets from this, one of my hosts will sing a song, or one of my hosts will. It always comes back to singing a song. So that's the best I can muster up. That's a lot different than Tasia not knowing how to open a bottle of champagne when he wins a tournament. They're fundamentally different things, right?
If you're coerced into it, sure, I can totally understand that. But
yeah,
I don't know if Jarrett was or not. I mean, unless you do know for a fact he was just coerced into that. Maybe he wanted to. Maybe he's just a fun guy and just wants to do that.
I think he showed up and said, "Hey guys, I want to sing." I think that happened. I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
when he showed
you
up,
know
right?
what? Thinking about the discussion, I actually think that what he wanted to do is he pitched it to all the staff. He said the only way we could top this off is if I come out and sing this fucking song awfully, and everyone went, you know what? Like it can probably work, and esports rejoiced, and we all made millions.
All right, one last question. We got any good doozy one? Let's see. Let me find one, guys. There's one in here too. No, here you go. Here's a good one for actually.
We skipped the hot button issue that got Richard all riled up and drinking those beers.
Which one?
The where
oh, the Dota thing.
No. The one about Richard chiming in on the.
No, you can't talk about that, man.
No.
No. He's talking about the EG editorial.
Yeah, the thing that got him on those beers. So let's do that one and then let's do one more.
All right, where's that one? Shoot, is it there at the top here? Did I skip it? I thought I asked it already.
Did you?
The fight of the Dodo? What's going on with the EG as a team? That one?
No. Ah, God damn it, ChanManV.
I'm like looking through the questions.
I'll take over the reins for the second. So, Richard wrote a piece today about what he thought.
Yeah.
What could have been done to the EG LOL roster, and then it was met with. It wasn't necessarily taken in so well. Crepo chimed in. One of the
thing is, it was taken in perfectly fine until fucking Crepo chimed in, and he chimed in with a fucking criticism that isn't even a valid criticism. I'll pass the baton to you, so you can take it. It's
from
just
here.
so stupid. It's just so fucking stupid. It's the same argument. Like, once you get past the point of, hey guys, it's an editorial. This is my opinion. Once we get past that point again for another fucking week in esports, once we get past that again, we actually plateaued into some fairly interesting discussion. Very, very varied. Like, nobody can really pinpoint what's wrong with the EG League of Legends team. Is it Crepo? Is it Snoopy? Is it Poe Belter? Should they have kept Jello Pete? Did they do the right thing by getting rid of him? Yeah, nobody can really pinpoint it. Some are saying it's inox, other people aren't. So nobody can pinpoint the exact cause. So there's this nice like kind of swirl of debate going on in the Reddit, which is great. That's the point of an editorial. I sat back and I thought to myself, wow, like for once it worked. I've only had to explain what an editorial is 12 times today.
Right.
No, that's a good thing. So like this is great. We're evolving. The League of Legends community is starting to understand editorials because we're producing more of them. They're familiar with my work. They know on occasion I'll write an editorial. It's all going so well. Then Crepo says, you're a liar. Right now, keep in mind we're talking about an editorial here. So he says, you're a liar and you should have asked for a quote for an editorial. Because I need to balance my opinion with a quote from who I'm writing about. Said no editorialist ever, by the way. You know, if people, and I definitely don't want to be mentioned in the same company, but people should Google ChanManV, however you pronounce it, OMIR. She's the guy, she's the chick.
She's the guy.
She's the guy. Fuck it, she's a guy. I'm going to slander her on air. Right, this is how angry I am. I can't even get my genders right. Okay, so she is the guy who wrote the article about Stephen Gately, who basically said he died because he was gay, because gay people do weird things. That's what she said. Now, it's a monstrously horrible inference. It's homophobic. It's absolutely disgusting. The grief that the family was already going through, to have it that then piled upon by a journalist who would say that gay people do weird things and that's why they die young. There's no reason for a young man to die other than him being gay. This is literally what she said, and I would urge anybody to find the editorial in question. Needless to say, there was a slew of complaints to the Press Complaints Commission, the guidelines for which I've got here in the Journalist's Handbook on my shelf, because I'm probably the only writer in esports who even knows that it fucking exists, right? So, despite the complaints, that article was upheld by the Press Complaints Commission as being legitimate. Fair comment is the term that they use. Now, that for me, even, and I'm a free speech advocate, is like, what the fuck? You can say people just keel over and die because gays have weird lifestyles compared to heterosexuals? You can say that in a national newspaper. Needless to say, it was published in the Daily Mail. You can say that and it's okay, journalistically speaking. Now, let's compare that to what I've written today, right? And let's see if I'm saying that, Crepo's team is bad because he indulges in a weird lifestyle or something equally mental. No, here's what I said. I said that sources close to the team have stated quite plainly that it is his desire to transition into a permanent role on the analysis desk. Something he himself has said that he would like to do. So that's not a lie. Then, after that, I added that, and they have also said it was something he had hoped to have arrived at by now. So that's what they've told me. We're talking 6 or 7 people. We're talking the same sources that have fed me all my League of Legends information. We're talking about people who are close to multiple players, people who have given me all of the transfer scoops, which we were right across the board about, right, in the off season. So but apparently they're wrong about this because Crepo says so. Everyone has on Twitter made the point that if you've got 6 people saying this person here, well, because obviously they're not too bright, so I'm not patronizing you people, I'm patronizing them. But okay, so they say this many people here say something about them, but as soon as they deny it, it's wrong. Doesn't matter about these guys because they denied it. So I want you to think about that, right? I want you to think about what that means for not just esports, but the whole journalism as a whole. Then I said, given the platform Riot have provided him already to do so, it is likely that such a move is all but guaranteed. It is. It is. It is. It is all but guaranteed. That's called balance of probability. So that can't be a lie. So then you go, why then he has elected, or maybe, keyword, maybe, even been persuaded to play another split is unfathomable. To me, personally, it is unfathomable. Like, if I had the choice to be underperforming in an underperforming team with a relegation battle all but guaranteed, and I probably could be an analyst by now, I know which one I'd pick. So again, balanced probability. So that's not a lie. Then I said his commentary and tweets about games are frequently knowledgeable, which they are. He knows what he's talking about, certainly more than I do mechanically. And yet there is little evidence of that in his recent performances, which means that he's a better analyst than he is a player, in a nutshell. Subjective, fair enough. Don't see how it can be a lie. Him accusing me of lying, not only, and he knows this because he's intelligent enough to know this, and he knew it when he tweeted. As soon as you tweet that, you rattle up all of your fanboys, however many it was. I'm probably guessing, 100,000, maybe more. You rattle them all up, and you know they're going to go and abuse the journalist and threaten the journalist and downvote the article and spread rumors about the journalist and threaten and report me to Reddit admins and Twitter mods and everyone else. And lo and behold, they've gone and done it. And he's saying he can't take responsibility for that. Well, of course, because we don't really know what's going to happen. Same as I didn't know that this exactly would happen when I wrote it. But I did, because I've done this for 10 years. And it's the same pathetic outcome every time. I can think of one player I publicly criticized in all of this time that's took it on the chin and behaved like a man about it. And that's probably that was Wicked, also in League of Legends. We still talk. We talk on Skype. We talk at events. And I said he was shit. I said he was a massive part of why Alliance went 0-8. And he just messaged me on Skype and said, well, I disagree. I think I've played quite well, actually. But, it's your opinion. You're entitled to it. And then we're all friends. Because that's how fucking adults behave. So I've got no idea why this is so problematic for somebody in the public eye in an underperforming team to take that kind of criticism. I don't know why that's such a major thing, like why you have to say it's a lie, but nothing I've said about him, and it was one paragraph, by the way, is a lie. And it's pretty pathetic to come out and pretend that it was, that I said I heard he was joining, or I heard firsthand that he was going to be an analyst by now, because I never said that. So basic reading comprehension fail results in journalistic an attack on a journalist again in esports, and just when I thought we were really starting to not be retarded. But go figure.
I want to dive
day,
in next.
Man. Okay.
I want to dive in next. Yeah.
All right, go for it.
So first off, anyone, I've taken a gander at chat. I was largely looking at chat as Richard was expressing himself, albeit rather loudly and impassionedly. But anyone saying that Richard isn't a journalist can really can just fuck off. Like he's one of the better journalists in this space. The easiest criticism is that he often injects his personal voice into what he writes, but I think that's largely because he feels so strongly about it. Well, let's take a gander just sort of at the facts. Worlds last year, Krepo was on the analyst desk. Team didn't qualify, right? All-Star Games, team didn't qualify, was at the analyst desk. While I was at Evil Geniuses, I was never, ever close to the League of Legends team. I respect them tremendously, but it just wasn't my game, so there was never really any huge incentive to get me involved with them. I think Krepo does a fantastic job as an analyst. One of the things that I feel like I can objectively comment on is when Riot likes a person, particularly a player, you're sort of set up for life, right? Look at all their hires recently. Look at the players that they've brought on. I have no idea because Krepo's never told me what his goals are for his career, but I feel like if Mitch ever wanted a job at Riot, it would be very easy, and I feel like he's every time I've seen him at the analyst desk, it's very good. My sources are likely different from Richard, and my sources, I'm less involved with League of Legends than Richard is. But when it sort of comes up, when you talk about, like, you got to understand, like, a pro gamer is a pro gamer for like 4 years. That's about how long you last. Everyone sort of says, like, the exit goal for people like Krepo, who are just so fantastic on camera, are really funny, really intelligent, understand the game. They say they're just set up with Riot. Now, it was an editorial piece. Again, editorial is...
That's
you can't.
the basis
I
of
mean, like, yeah,
everything.
you can't run up to Richard and take an axe at his knee just because it's an editorial. He said these were his personal thoughts. His opinions were influenced by people at the highest echelons of sort of competitive League of Legends. I don't understand. To make like a sort of other side point that might lead into another crazy Richard rant, which I'd actually be even excited to hear, was esports journalism is actually just so fucking insane because it's such a small community. You know what I mean? Everyone feels like they're so intimately involved when they're not necessarily. So at the Daily Dot, I actually took Shobo Peon's job, and he works at cybercrime now. Cybercrime, like hacking, like people going to fucking jail for the
Really,
rest
I
of their
didn't
lives.
know that.
And
Wow.
drugs. He does cybercrime and drugs, and he jokes about it. He's like, I took the more civil spaces. I decided to leave esports and go work with like the murderers and the drug dealers, and like he's not getting harassed when he's reporting on people going to jail for the rest of their lives. Like, so esports journalism is like it's very weird. Richard went to school for journalism, so if you don't think he's a journalist, you can fuck off. He uses what is the equivalent of America's AP Style Guide, which is sort of what we use here at the Daily Dot. Everyone's just so involved. That is maybe the one lingering effect from, that's the difference between us right now and traditional athletics, is like everyone wants to chime in on everything. It's just really weird.
I think the worst part about it all is, like, I don't know, like, it seems to almost be that your thoughts are pretty much what gets your work judged. Like, at any given moment, it's not the execution of the work itself, it's what's
Yeah, it's
contained
because
within.
it's about personalities in this.
So
This
I
community,
know,
yeah.
like, I
So-
write an article saying that I feel really bad about, Total Biscuit, having further problems with illness, which again I was real loath to even write the piece because I didn't know how he'd perceive it. Like, I wanted to say something specifically to him that I felt had a more powerful message if I said it to a bunch of people at once, and that was that I was wrong. This guy isn't the dickhead that I thought he was. He's not this egotist. He's actually a really nice guy, and he's proven to be an invaluable kind of person to help me develop and adapt within the esports space, because everything that I think I'm going through, he's gone through a million times over, and probably is a million times worse because he's got a much bigger audience, and his perspective has always been absolutely refreshing, and I shut myself off to that perspective for a long period of time because don't even know why it was. We used to tweet at each other all the time, and it was just completely stupid. And I even, Chris, you can vouch for this. I used to say to Chris, right, if TB was coming on the show, I'd be like, right, I've got to be totally sober tonight. Like, I've got to get one over on him. Like, I've got to intellectually battle him. And then it was like, when we actually did some airtime together, I was like, well, fuck, I agree. I agree. There was no combat, so it was like it was hugely important for me to say to the public, who like John knows himself, nothing is deleted on the internet. So all of my screeds against him, all of my rants against him, are preserved, forever. In Carbonite, like Han Solo, on Twitter, all the times I called him a fucking idiot or said he didn't know anything about journalism or whatever. And I wanted to publicly retract those, but everyone was like, "Oh, this is great," because who could disagree now? The same people who were probably messaging him and telling him to kill himself 6 months ago. Oh well, he's ill. He's got a lot of shit on his plate, and Richard said he's a nice guy now, so now we're gonna act all nice to him. I got no doubt in my mind that there was a big chunk of crossover. I'm sure a lot of people who are well wishing him now are the same people who called him worse than shit 6 months ago, because I've seen that turn around myself.
Yep.
I get private messages from people who say, "Hey, Rich, I used to totally downvote everything you ever wrote on Reddit, and I used to tweet that you touched kids and did all of the horrible shit." No, people have done that. I have been accused of being a paedophile so many times, it's ridiculous. And that seems to be a go-to accusation for an older guy in esports, because obviously that there's a
Okay.
real sinister connotation there, but you work with young people all the time. So this guy, like, admitted to having helped proliferate this rumor. I'll show you the direct message. And he said, but you wrote this one thing I agree with, and now I think you're cool.
Yeah.
So that's it. That was all I needed to do. all I need to do is gauge what everybody individually thinks, ensure that I only write what they believe and share a belief in, and that they only see that work and none of the stuff that contradicts those beliefs. And if I can just do that for everybody ever, I'll be fine. And it's totally cool. And that's reasonable, right? Isn't it? So I just don't understand it. It's like, people say, you thrive on drama, you're just a drama monger. But like, actually, sometimes that can be when ESL weren't paying prize money to players,
right, exactly.
and no one else was touching it with a 10-foot pole, who went out there and not only wrote stories about it publicly, which, if we're being completely honest about it, ESL actually rang my employers and said they'd much rather that we didn't do that. And that's true. I don't give a fuck. That's a fact. But I stood by it and said, please don't remove this. This is important. I also helped all the players from the CSS community write letters and emails and correspondence to get their prize money back privately, something I never took any fucking credit for. And I've done this sort of thing multiple times. So the idea that, like, I know you're just a drama monger, it's like you've done nothing positive for the esports scene, that makes me sick to read that. Makes me sick. Like, in 10 years, even if you had nothing but malicious intent, you would eventually accidentally do something good. So the idea, like, by accident. So the idea that being a journalist with opinions is like horrific malevolent force.
I think
it's ridiculous.
It's more and more a minority now that people feel that way, Richard. So again, it's just a few.
Well, no,
it is. Come on, Richard.
Your brand's got better.
Come on, Richard. Like a year ago, right?
Better,
compared to compared to now, there's much more people that like your work.
You can't call it a minority because it is neither a minority nor a majority or anything. It is literally whatever you write on that given day. As soon as you hit publish, you do not fucking know. All right, you can have an inkling, but I've published articles where I was like, oh my god, like, I've said to my girlfriend, like, can you go out tonight? Because after I hit approve on this, I just want to go in the living room, just turn out the lights, just watch, I don't know, fucking Cannibal Corpse on a permanent loop while I cut myself and drink whiskey and maybe masturbate and cry, and you don't want to be around to see that. And she goes, yeah, okay, cool, because she understands, like, what I do for a living and how shit it is. And then I come back to the PC 4 hours later, like, hit enter. Oh, great read, man. Really enjoyed this. Yeah, it was really cool.
It is very. You can never. Richard makes it like a fantastic point. You can never tell. You never know.
You never know,
but no idea.
But your
look
body
at
of
stuff
work.
I'm still getting tweeted. Look at stuff I'm still getting tweeted. Even if sources are reliable, you don't publish without asking comment from whoever it is about.
Yeah, but
don't you? Where's that written? Okay, great stuff. Like, and it's just, and this is the thing. Other times you write the most vanilla shit. This should be vanilla. EG did bad in this split. Like, even as I wrote it, I thought, fuck me, this is a really pedestrian.
That same guy that's tweeting you is the same guy that said, I used to hate your shit, but now I read something that actually resonates with me, and I like your work now. It's the same guy. It's just a different dude.
I get that. It's like there's one bitch but many faces. Yeah, I totally get it, right? But the point I'm making is that, like, this is a vanilla piece. This is journalist with a mandate to talk about a particular game, criticizes 18 for underperforming, and this is the sort of drama it dictates. And people have said to me, I'm in a few sort of journalist channels because we all love to sit in tree houses and talk about how important we are all day. They've said, like, how I wouldn't want to write, I want to write that kind of piece, but I wouldn't have the balls to do it. I don't feel that I can comment on insert name of popular team here because the fanboys get stirred up and they attack you. Well, how is that contributing towards an objective landscape? That's before we even get into, because that's just harmless. That's just me saying they're shit. and they should change their players. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Who cares? Like, they should have pretty big shoulders. They should be able to deal with like the opinion of one journalist, especially when they've just gone 0-4 in Super Week and looked horrible while doing it. Like,
Duncan says it all the time. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's like.
So yeah,
Okay.
exactly right. So
I mean, Richard's on the money. This'll like there are tons of stories just journalists pass on all the time. There are tons and tons and tons of stories that we just pass on because we're close to these people, and I feel like Richard takes on more of them. So I'll stick up for him. I also feel like just in terms of technical writing, like in terms of a writer, as like a former editor, Richard's among the better journalists there is in terms of just like stringing a sentence together. Because there are a lot of really great journalists who are fantastic at telling stories and understanding and coaxing, the shit out of people who really do a not awesome job of stringing sentences together. It's just esports journalism is very weird. It's like I think it's just because the industry is so small. So one of the things that esports has going for it is everyone feels so intimately involved with everything. But inversely, like, a lot of the community, sometimes you guys aren't as involved as you think, and, a lot of decisions were made when, like, writing articles were very deliberate, things were omitted strategically for better or for worse, and then just, like, it's just a huge quagmire. I think that's why esports journalism is, like, it's just so nuts, like, because if you burn a source, like, you're fucked, you'll never hear from them again, you'll never, you have to be very tactical and precise about who you talk to, because the blacklist is real. Me and Richard, actually, who get along really well now, Richard couldn't talk to any of my players when I was on EG. I just give a fuck, so that's just how it works. It's just really weird.
But it's what I mean. It's like it annoys me that we have to derail a fucking show to even address this sort of shit again. Like, really, are we still talking about this?
It's not
Can you
derailing
fucking
a
idiots?
show.
No, it is. It is.
We're just talking about it. There's
I
no
feel like
derailing.
we shouldn't even need to fucking dignify this shit with a response. Like, here we are, halfway through 2014, and you cunts still do not understand what a journalist does for a living. Like, I cannot fucking fathom it.
And we're here to remind them. So
yeah, right,
fine.
exactly. And how much fun that is. Like, it's just, seriously, you people, honestly, like, if you've never picked up a newspaper in your life, you have forfeited all fucking right to comment. If you do not understand basic things like why I wouldn't reveal an anonymous source, like, I've said it to so many people, like, when you handle a source, it's like being a car salesman.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to sell you one car once, so I just burn you and I give you all the extras and I give you the true coat and I give you the turtle wax and I give you the insurance that you didn't ask for and I fuck you and you never come back to my lot. I want to sell you like 5 cars over like 15 years or however often people buy cars, like whatever, right? That's how you have to be. And it's like, sometimes they'll go on the record, sometimes they won't. But you've absolutely got to go to the wall for a source. If a source says, please do not give my name, you absolutely have got to go down with a ship. It doesn't matter if everyone's saying, hey, just give us the name and then we'll believe you. You've got to have everyone not believe you. The popularity contest is a fucking distant second to keeping that source, just ethically from getting into trouble potentially, or just journalistically in the sense that I want to get more stories because that's how I operate. And that is so basic and fundamental that I can't even believe there's people out there that don't grasp that concept. Like, they've never turned on a TV or, like say, picked up a newspaper or even, watched them. There's so many films where that sort of thing is explained in needless exposition because people are morons. So it's horrendous. It's horrendous to have to write. And like I say, I thought today wasn't going to be one of those days, but today was one of those days. Not because of what I wrote, but because of who I wrote it about. Yep. And that's pathetic. The esports community collectively, not all of you, there's some good guys out there, no doubt, but approximately, if Reddit's anything to go by, 42% of the esports community never fails to disappoint me with their, just lack of comprehension about the basic things that we do.
All right, guys, let's wrap up. There was actually one question, though, that some people wanted me to comment on the whole Violet poll thing, so...
We didn't do TI either. We should do TI.
Oh, TI, just the latest. But let me show you this thing first. So let me turn up the volume. So there's a new show that's going to be starting pertaining to Polt and Violet. So you can take a look at it. It's on cyber-sports.net. Video looks nice. Yeah.
No, it is. Typography.
Yeah, true. This newest challenge. What is this?
Violet's looking good.
I like it. His nickname got the weight, or he got fit. I don't know if he had too much weight to lose, but he got fit. He's great now.
Terran versus Zerg? 5 Terrans versus 5 Zergs? Alright. Coming this summer, okay. So, you can apply for it, so I guess anybody can sign up for this thing? No Protoss love, I guess. So, yeah, check that out, guys. Go to cyber, let's see. What is it? cyber-sports.net and sign up for this. I guess you can be on either Violet or Polt's team, and I think it's a show. It's like something that's going to be pretty regular this summer.
Yep.
So definitely check that out. And then, Cody, you want to talk about TI and just the qualifiers?
Yeah, so they actually just wrapped up shortly before this show. The last qualifier, the European tournament, just wrapped up. So from North America, really surprising, a team called North American Rejects ended up beating Team Liquid.
Wow,
to
really?
To qualify directly into the tournament. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Dota, the top 2 teams get a trip to Seattle. One qualifies directly to the tournament, and then there's a playoff between all the second teams to qualify straight in. Tournament's almost $7 million. I bring this up just because it had come up a lot in the Reddit thread. So Team Liquid, a franchise that a lot of you guys will be familiar with, fell just short. It was 3-2. 3-2. And North American Rejects beat them. North American Rejects was a team sort of that was aptly named, so it was a lot of North American players from former TI competing teams, and they won. And, because I like to brag a little bit, I have the skinny on so this team was unsponsored, and I need just about maybe one more day to confirm that the rumor that I heard was true, but a big existing Dota organization is going to pick them up.
As a second team?
Yes. So the Alex Garfield method of just getting as many Dota teams as you can to compete in the international is making its way through the rest of the esports world. So I've heard that NARS. I hear that they'll be announcing their team here in the next couple of days, and I'm looking to try and beat that announcement. So yeah, that'll be really sick. That'll be really good. I really think highly of all of them. I think Fogg is just a fucking fantastic player. 1437. This is actually his 4th international with 4 different teams. He's competed at every single international with a separate team. So that's actually really sick. So I will. It's not EG. It's definitely not EG, guys. It's not EG. It's not EG's 3rd Dota team, but it's people copying EG's method of just when the international world's around, let's just have as many teams as possible.
Right,
so,
right.
Trying to think that might pop out. So Southeast Asia, which was pretty much everything but China. Aero looked just super sick of a Malaysian team, and they were really absolutely dominant. But something that might pique the interest of folks here who are familiar with StarCraft, MVP was 2nd, so they'll be competing in the playoff. They're at the international. They call it the play-in, so it's all the second-place teams playing one another, and that's the MVP of StarCraft fame. And that's absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, the team with Purge and Blitz didn't qualify. They kind of got shredded on. China was LGD and CIS. That's not super surprising for folks that follow the Chinese scene. LGD was looking really sharp. And then Europe was Mouse, which used to be Team Dog. Mouse's
Team Dog.
Yeah. So Team Dog, which is something they named themselves. Mouse Sports they've been in the Dota scene for a little bit. They disbanded their last team shortly after the last TI. They had Cinderin who cast like for the NA hub, and then Virtus Pro. So I know that we don't have a lot of Dota folks, but I'm really looking forward to that event. Like I said, I'm sort of racing Gnar and the team that might pick them up right now to get that announcement. I think TL competing in the play-in. The play-in's really interesting, so only one of those teams will make it through. TL versus MVP. MVP. What makes MVP interesting is like Korea is not a Dota country. You know what I mean? Traditionally,
right?
And League of Legends definitely rules the roost over there.
It's more of a China thing.
Yes, China loves their Dota. So TL, MVP, and VP, I feel like are all pretty similar. The one thing I must admit is I don't follow Chinese Dota very much, so I have no idea, like, because there's like a discrepancy. Like the LGDCIS series was actually really good, but I have no idea how good they are compared to the rest of the world.
Right.
VP looked kind of sort of good, but their strats were all early game based. But anyway, I think that's going to be fucking awesome, and I see people commenting regularly about Dota, so I will do my best to try and keep you guys informed.
Yeah.
But let it be known, guys,
it's
that
coming
Gnar's,
soon, guys.
that's got to be like the fucking sickest position to be in. When you win like a TI qualifier and you have no sponsor, like imagine the sort of like leverage you have, and that's got to be one of the best positions in ever to be in,
Yeah.
like, where you're talking
Time
with
to
teams
cash
about,
in, man.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's a $7 million tournament. It's time to Emmy sign, pony up. So
God, it's like $1 million a week, man. It was $6 million last week. It's almost $7 million this week.
I think it'll do. I think it'll do 10.
Think it'll do 10?
Well,
Wow.
they included new stretch goals that went all the way to 10, so I think it'll get there.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, why don't we wrap the show? Thanks for the update, Cody, on Dota 2, and let's wrap up because Steven's got to play some Watch Dogs.
Right.
So let's do some shout
Yeah,
outs.
we're into his streaming time.
Exactly. Cody, you want to do some shout outs? Thank you.
I'd first like to apologize to my agent, Sir Scoots. So I was
Yeah, he was really upset you weren't here last week.
He let me know via Skype that he was not over the moon about me dropping out of the show. So Chris and I had talked about having him on last week just because a lot of the esports issues that we were covering were sort of like larger, broader political things, like they're not necessarily game-based. And I talked to him and I was like, hey, man, this would be absolutely awesome. I was knee-deep in wedding preparation and really hungover, so I gave you guys a slip. It was funny, I gave you guys a slip at like 5 in the morning. I was like, I can't fucking do this, guys. So I'd like to personally apologize to Sir Scoots. I did not mean to do this. I really wanted to talk to everything about you, or everything that happened that week with you.
It was fun. It was fun even if you weren't here, man.
I would like to thank my beautiful wife for putting up with all of my bullshit, and then I'd like to say that everyone who talks shit about Richard is a fucking idiot. I think he does a very good job. And this shit is hard work, so... and then thank you, Chris, for having me on the show, and then Steven, let me know if Watch Dogs is worth buying.
Richard, shout-outs, thank yous.
Hold on, I'll be back 1 sec. Rachel needs some.
Right.
1 sec.
Okay. Long shout-outs
shout
and
out to
long
Destiny.
thank yous, man.
Shout out to Destiny, because he really knows how to put me on the spot. It's pretty good. Shout outs. Shout out to you, Chris. Apologies if I have not seemed completely with it. Lots going on personally, lots going on journalistically, and not a great day to try and engage with the esports community, which I really should not publish editorials on Unfiltered Day, because it just makes me sick.
Don't read it.
To the fucking pit of my stomach. It absolutely does. But well done, guys. Players certainly far more valuable to the scene than anyone who does any form of critical thinking. So let's definitely agree with everything they say and attack anyone who doesn't agree with them. All of them across the board. So great job. Shout out to Cody. Well done on the Dota 2 research. I don't know how you do it and keep up to date with so many games.
Oh.
No, seriously, like
Yeah.
everyone's like, why don't you do more Dota stuff? And other than not really having the desire to,
No,
like,
I know,
it's just,
I know what you mean.
it's such a full fucking plate, especially because, of Hearthstone's enforced relevance, thanks to
Hey.
Blizzard.
Hey, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
I'm joking. I'm actually warming to Hearthstone.
You better be warming.
No, like I'm up to, I think, 13.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Gee,
attaboy. That's good.
okay,
That's not that
yeah.
bad. The grind gets tough after 5 because you don't get the bonus points, but like
Way to knock them down, Cody.
Okay,
Way to
cool.
knock-
Cool.
I'm just absolutely yeah. I'm just saying.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't really
fun, though,
invested a lot
right?
of time.
It's
No,
fun.
no, I
Yeah.
do enjoy it. I think, and this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not an insult. What I actually enjoy about it, I think, is that it doesn't require total engagement. Which is going to sound so bad,
Oh
and
my
everyone's going to go,
gosh.
"That's why you're only
That's why you're
15."
13, buddy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or 15, 13, whatever the fuck I just said, whichever the lie is. You decide. But no. I mean, it's like I can type something and look, he's
I
played
know what you
this.
mean,
Now
though.
I can play this.
Half
Like
the
I
time
don't
I'm
need.
doing
It's not
work.
like a League of Legends where it's like
Yeah.
my girlfriend always calls it is constant clicking. She hates it. She won't let me fucking like if she's asleep. I gotta.
You
know, I
can't
gotta
solo
click
queue when you're on the
quietly.
can, dude. You can
Yeah.
and you can play a game of Hearthstone when you're on the can.
Exactly, which again is part of its appeal, and also I guess easy ammunition for the detractors. So anyway, now that Stephen is back, shout out to him, and yeah, shout out to everybody who watches Unfiltered. It's great,
Yeah.
and yeah, there we go. Shout outs.
All right, Steven.
Same as always, destiny.gg/ting. If you want to check out cell phones, destiny.gg/shave for razors. And thanks to ChanMan for coming on today and having us. And thanks to Cody and Richard for coming on today
Thank
and
you,
having us.
Steven.
There you go.
I'll have you anytime.
I'll have you anytime. I'll just round out just thanking you guys again for having the show, and it's good to get back to just the grind, I guess you could say. I had a really long weekend, and not as crazy busy as Cody. Obviously, getting married, such an awesome occasion for him, but just had a nice vacation where I actually didn't do anything, or I tried not to do anything while I was away at Disney with the kids. But it was actually really recharging. It's been a long time since I've actually done nothing, on a vacation. Usually at night when the kids are in bed, I'm always just constantly doing work. So it was nice to have that break, and just gonna be more content in the near future. So we're gonna be doing some more, obviously, on Wednesday night sprites, tomorrow night Value Town, Thursday, and also Deck Wars on Thursday. So Deck Wars starts up again on Thursday too. So lots more. If you guys like Hearthstone, like some StarCraft 2 arcade, check it out. You can find the VODs for this show on youtube.com/ChanManV. First 3 parts are already there. They should already be processed too. So check it out if you missed the beginning of the show. I'll upload the second or the last part of it right after we go off air here. And follow the channel if you enjoy the show. Really
Yep.
appreciate it. And if you want to support the show, buy some t-shirts. These awesome t-shirts here. Subscribe to the channel too if you want to support it. And yeah, I think that's going to be it, guys. So that's going to be it for Unfiltered this week. So for Cody, Destiny, Richard, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.
Farewell.
For fun.
Fare thee well.
All right, I'm going to the Watchdogs.